Hey.
Hey. Should I bring the light closer?
How we look, y'all? Can you see us?
Besides wrinkle.
Get room for that.
Listen.
I think the light's good. For me, it's good. How is it for you? Look at yourself and tell me.
It's showing my wrinkles.
You can't get rid of those unless you have an iron. So, welcome back. Hopefully you don't hear any background noise.
You might. It's a lot going on here.
Anyway, so today we're going to talk about emotional intelligence, which when we were going through this, we kind of realized that we don't really have it.
Yeah.
We have low emotional intelligence. Our EQ is low.
What does EQ stand for?
What does IQ stand for?
I don't think I realize what IQ stands for.
Okay, well, the E is emotional for whatever the Q is.
Do you know what the Q? You don't know what the Q is either? Oh, I was going to say I'm so dumb, but I'm not. Or we both are.
Our IQ is also low.
EQ, IQ low.
Let me see. Low. Intellectual qualities? No, I don't know what the Q is for. I just made that up. Look that up while we're talking. But anyway, emotional intelligence. I didn't even know it was called EQ until we were like looking up information on it. But yes, it's your EQ. And emotional intelligence is basically being aware of or in control of expressing one's emotions.
Intelligence quotient. I think our IQ just went up.
Intelligence quotient. So they're doing some dividing.
No, numbers. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, because they give you a bunch of tests and they give you a score.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, I don't know how they manage your emotional intelligence. I mean, how they score it. We're sleepy. But anyway, emotional intelligence, being aware of or in control of expressing one's emotions and the ability to handle interpersonal relationships judiciously and empathetically.
And expeditiously.
No, judiciously and empathetically.
Yeah, so basically, be in charge of your own feelings and your own emotions. Instead of being reactive, be proactive, because you know the answer and you are the solution. And that's just really what, for those of you who don't know what that's from Boo Church. That's throwback classic Boo from like late 2000s.
A lot of people are not going to know what that's from.
No, they're not. That's okay. But I just told them. So check out Boo Church, I guess.
So basically, you have the responsibility of managing your own emotions. Again, this is why I try to practice mindfulness, because that's precisely what it teaches you. How to control your emotions, how to recognize when you're feeling a certain way, how to identify your triggers, all of that stuff, and how to deal with it. Because not only do you have to know, like, oh, I'm angry, like you have to know how to cope with being angry, because you're going to be angry.
Yeah, I always hear people who be like, oh, I'm looking for someone who's going to make me happy. And, who makes me happy? And it's like, make yourself happy, how?
You can make yourself happy, but you also want to be with somebody that makes you happy.
You don't want to be with somebody who makes you sad either. Like,
right.
That's really, I think, what they were getting at. Because
he doesn't make me sad.
He doesn't make me sad. There's a difference between he doesn't make me sad. Yeah. But either way, they say that with, it seems like more intention of them placing their happiness in that person's hands, when it shouldn't be like that.
It shouldn't be, but it is.
It is. For some of us.
With low EQ.
Yes. So emotionally intelligent people handle criticism well. They're open-minded. They're good listeners. They don't sugarcoat, and they don't apologize when wrong. Wait, what? Okay.
They do apologize when wrong.
Oh, they do. Okay, that was written weirdly. Punctuation.
They don't sugarcoat, and They apologize on the wrong.
Comma.
Do you remember when I was writing this? I was done.
Yeah, I didn't even know what you were putting. But
right, and I was just going, and I was like, yeah, there was it's not complete sentences
episode,
at all.
If this episode is weird, it's her. No, I'm kidding.
Whatever.
Just kidding.
So,
yeah. So wrinkle creatives are essential. Sure. Anyway,
knowing your emotions versus having emotions. So, a lot of times, this is actually what I teach at school, and it's surprising that I don't have a high EQ. I would say mine is probably average because I can't control my emotions for the most part. I just cry a lot. If that makes any sense. Emotions are not only crying. Like when I'm angry, I'm not punching the wall or snapping on people.
Yeah.
But I'm still angry.
That's true.
I just cry.
I mean, I think most women do. They cry when they're frustrated. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily even like I'm crying because I'm like sad or like it's just like I'm just angry or I'm just frustrated or I'm just upset. And I'm gonna cry in this moment because I have no control over it.
So basically, you need to be able to recognize when you're feeling a certain way. And again, this is, kind of what I try to teach my students, but as adults, we kind of have to figure it out too, because kids are watching how you react to everything and they're imitating it. But just knowing like when you feel a certain way, like sometimes people just feel something like anger and they're ready to fight or, and sometimes it's warranted. But being able to understand the difference between just having your emotions, your ebbs and flows of emotions, and then being able to control them and understand like exactly how you're feeling.
Yeah, when I first heard that saying, like you can have emotions, but do you know your emotions or something like that? And I was like, I'm like, you just automatically assume that because I have emotions, I know my emotions. Like, no, you don't know your emotions till you can control your emotions. Because if you're not controlling them, then you are purposely not controlling them. And then that's just weird. So.
And basically that's just controlling your reaction to certain things. So your triggers or whatever it is, controlling how that reaction is. So if you know that this guy is going to get on your nerves, stop crying about it. We already know.
Are you talking to me?
No, I'm just saying in general. Duh. I feel I'm talking to myself too.
I feel attacked.
Talking to myself too. I'm just saying, like, we think about it. Like, we'll know. Like, we'll go through certain things with certain people and we'll know. We'll be like, all right, he's going to aggravate me again. But yet, and still when it happens, we're all like, it's the first time happening. It's like, oh, we forgot to control our reaction to this stimuli.
I do it all the time. And then I'm like, I already knew that this is going to happen, but just listen, just hear me out. He had the audacity.
Yeah. So, just be that listening ear because we go through it all the time.
Yeah. Be our listening ear. Thank you for being here.
We as in women in general, or men too, really, everybody.
Or the James girls, specifically. Yes. Low emotional intelligence is mostly caused by fear of judgment and rejection, which can stem from like trauma and stuff like that. But that makes sense. Yeah. Fear of judgment. So, I don't know. There's some times where people just react crazily and they don't seem to care if they're judged.
Or they just have previous trauma and that's why they're emotional intelligence is low. I mean, trauma can definitely lower your emotional intelligence.
Yeah, and that goes back to like the whole they apologize when wrong and stuff like that. It's like there's some sort of insecurity that lies there with someone who's not capable of apologizing when they know they did something wrong. They know something wasn't right and they have a problem still apologizing.
Yeah.
But I bet if the shoe was on the other foot, then they would want the apology. Be like, he didn't even apologize. Oh my God. Like, yeah. No.
So in reading up on this, we were reading about like people that feel and people that think, right? Because usually people with high emotional intelligence are feelers. And in relationships, when you have a person that's a feeler and a person that's a thinker, I think that's where there's sometimes conflict, because I don't know if any of y'all have ever done it, but I literally broke down in front of like somebody I was dating, and they were looking at me like, what? I mean,
Yeah,
and I didn't
like,
feel like they were, I didn't feel like they were so like,
they're there.
Are you done? But it was just like, they don't know. Maybe they're just not
compute,
empathetic.
like,
Yeah. But when I think about it, many men are thinkers, right? And many women are feelers. Not to say that we don't think and that men don't feel, but it's just how it is.
That's how we're programmed.
Mm-hmm.
I think I don't know. It just, when I was looking at like the definition of the thinker and the feeler, I was like, okay, so this is women and this is men. And okay, so it's like, just generally speaking, all of us, because I know I specifically am a feeler.
So we communicate from our heart.
From our heart. And I don't want to be like this. Send help. And then I know like logical, like I know like the logical side of things.
Right.
I'm just emotionally driven.
Yeah.
I don't know how to put that.
Same.
That reminds me of like the distancer and pursuer that I learned in high school, where there's always one person that is the distancer, or they're always kind of just like standoffish, kind of not even necessarily standoffish. They're just not the one that's like constantly in pursuit. And then they have the pursuer, who is always like the one hitting them up, or like, hey, let's hang out, let's do this. And once the pursuer kind of like falls off and loses interest because they feel like they're not being reciprocated, then the distancer becomes pursuer, and the pursuer becomes distancer, and it's like this constant cat and mouse game.
And I could definitely see that with feelers and thinkers, because I remember there was a meme that had like a picture of a woman, like it was a breakup between a couple. It's like a cartoon couple. And at the top of the comic strip or whatever, the woman was like so emotional and so upset. And then by the time they got to the end, the roles had reversed. The woman was like, bye. And the men were like, please, like, come back. So even in distance and pursuing, it's the same thing with their emotions are like switched. Like now the men are the emotional ones and the women are like, now that I think about it, that probably wasn't for me. Bye.
Yeah. But when you say the word emotional, there's such a stigma with it. It's like, there's a bad stigma on both sides. It's like, if you go up and walk up to a random woman one day and call her emotional, and she's gonna be like,
which is emotion.
I mean, I'm emotional. Somebody call me emotional, I'd be like, I know. How do I not?
I know. But it's with all your feelings. I mean, I'm emotional. I'm a crier, but it's also with like being angry, being like all your emotions.
All emotions.
Yeah.
And you call a man emotional, and then he just wants to fight you. So
just call him passionate. I wish men were more comfortable with their emotional side.
Society won't let them.
I know.
Sucks. But
also the way they're raised, also black men, it's, it's just
that's a whole other episode.
Black is King.
Is that in Black is King?
Probably somewhere. That episode's kind of long.
I literally forget every episode. As soon as we wrap it up, I'm like, what did we even say?
And I'm like, what's the title of this? What were we talking about?
Well, yeah. Go back and look at the notes and I'm like, I don't even remember this from 5 minutes ago. Anyway. Yeah. So bad stigma on the word. I wish there wasn't, because it's so dumb. I just feel like that concept is so juvenile. Like, we're allowed to have emotions and not be like crucified about them.
I try to teach it in school too, to the young men, because boys, I should say, they're not young men yet, but
they're kind of young.
They, like literally some of them will say, like, they'll be crying and like sucking it back. Like, I can't cry. And I'm like, it's okay. Like, if you are feeling angry or upset, like, you're allowed to, express yourself. It doesn't have to be, and I know, his daddy probably wouldn't want me telling him that, but you don't want to stifle their emotions. I mean, come on now.
They want to stifle their emotions.
No.
They're like, stifle your emotions, son.
Yeah. And that's the problem, that there are people, I mean, that's just how boys are raised and girls are raised. Girls are raised to be emotional and men are raised to be
not. And that explains a lot in their adulthood and mine. So yeah, Mom. Okay, so you go ahead and talk about the core competencies because I don't know anything about them. I'm going to learn this too.
Well, the core competencies for school counseling, I saw it on when I was looking up the information on emotional intelligence, and it was pretty much the same things. I didn't realize where they got these core competencies from that we have to follow in school, but I guess it's just general emotional intelligence information. But there's 5 that we use, but I think they only gave us 4 with the emotional intelligence. But it's self-awareness, self-regulation, social awareness, and relationship management. So basically being aware of your surroundings and how people around you are feeling, being able to be empathetic, having your own emotions regulated. I hope y'all can't hear that in the background.
Yeah. Nice.
Oh my God.
You can probably hear it.
Having your own emotions regulated is distracting. I have ADD. Being aware of your relationships with other people. And so it's being aware of yourself, being aware of your emotions, being able to regulate your emotions, having awareness of people around you, and having awareness of how people feel around you. And then the other one that we have for school is having, making responsible decisions, which is what we try to teach the students. So a lot of times, like, especially in my, field of work, I see that we expect children and students to have their emotions under control. And a lot of times the teachers don't. So like students and teachers will literally be like arguing because my kids don't back down. Okay. They will argue with you and they will win if you don't kick them out of the classroom. So, so I recognize that sometimes a lot of teachers, don't understand that like you're combating with a child, like you need to control yourself or they're not going to control themselves. Like it's the
same thing with that with the police where it's like these trained individuals are allowed to wave a gun in our face, but we're not allowed to have an emotional response to having a gun in my face. Like, of course, if you're like charging at me or if you're holding a gun in my face or trying to suffocate me or whatever the case is, and I'm the civilian. I'm supposed to be able to control my emotions, and you're the person that's literally trained to de-escalate the situation. Like, that's not fair. It's not fair at all.
Yeah,
that's the same exact thing when you talk about that. I'm like, every time you talk about that, I'm thinking of this. It's the same thing with the police. It's like, you're the adult here.
If you think
why are you arguing with a child?
Exactly. Because they don't have emotional, and that's the thing. Like it's, I don't think like sometimes they don't have that ability to. It's like a power struggle, and it's terrible. But I think that in general, people need to start practicing being more aware of how they feel, and especially with everything that we're going through with COVID, and like, a lot of us are grieving, and from COVID or not, from just random life. Just being aware of how you feel and that conversation that you have with yourself, like after the fact, we got to try to get that in the front. Somehow we got to try to get that to the front of the act.
It's going to take some trial and error, but.
And knowing that you're allowed to feel, like it's okay for everybody to have the feelings that they have, but you just have to, unfortunately these feelings come and go. Like this is just how life is. So we're going to have to figure out ways to be able to cope with literally everything, or you're just not going to be functional. Like you have to figure out a way to cope.
You have to.
If your coping is punching the pillow, then your coping is punching the pillow. But
I recommend working out. Go for a run. Do something productive. I feel like we always say that.
Because that's what I do.
But it's so relevant. It's so relevant. Like, I just can't even believe I've missed out on this many years of just non-movement that could have improved so much more of my life. Like my quality of life would have been completely different in my 20s if I was active. I was a slug until I turned 30. And
Same.
Yeah.
I hit 30. I was like, all right, time to get in the gym.
Yeah, I hit 30 and I decided that I don't want to look like this no more. And I didn't realize that it was going to actually spill over in other areas of my life. But I think part of being, just self-regulation in
Mhm.
general is being active, because there's so many hormones that you're
Mhm.
releasing. There's so much stress that you're getting
Yeah.
rid of. And the more stressed you are, the more likely you are to pop off and just be more emotional in a negative way. And hey,
And
I'm
also
moving.
talking about it. Like I even tell students, but I think it goes for adults too, like talking about whatever it is that's bothering you to somebody that you can trust with your information.
Yeah.
Even if it's something simple, but just the funny thing is, I don't think that's gonna pick up on your. I hope it doesn't. Oh my god,
that's hilarious.
But anyway, it's just can't. This is. Let's switch gears here. We need to move out.
Yeah, let that be the next episode. Is that done? Is that over? Nope. No, it's not. Anyway, as we were saying.
OMG.
Go. We are laughing because we're having some sort of background issue. Okay. Either way, that y'all probably will never even hear or know about, and y'all just think we're crazy.
It's not on there.
Well, we'll listen back to it. We'll see if it is, whatever. If it ain't, whatever. Emotional intelligence is controlling how you react to external stimulus. So we did not handle that very maturely. We didn't handle that very well. It's just,
we did.
A lot going on.
We could have tackled him for that.
True. But we can't carry on. We couldn't carry on. But it's over now. It's fine. So how do you improve emotional intelligence? How do you do it?
Well, before I was really interrupted, I was saying that being able to talk about it with somebody is one way. And I think just because you're getting your feelings and your emotions and everything out, that's if it's something that's bothering you, or if it's something that's exciting, you don't want to keep that to yourself either. But just getting that out, and sometimes you can get feedback from people that you talk to, especially in group therapy. But you can also listen to people. And
thank you.
People with low emotional intelligence, they don't normally voice their feelings. So in order to raise it again, it's just, expressing yourself. And this is where I realized that my emotional intelligence is not that high, because I really keep a lot in.
Well, I don't. So does that mean that I have
higher? You have very little self-regulation. At work in particular.
That's the only place I get tried.
Touché.
I have like a complex, maybe we could talk about this in a different episode, but I have just like this complex of feeling that I need to assert or not even assert, I have to defend my dignity because I'm disrespected.
But that goes back to the top, feeling like you're judged or...
But what if I actually am? It's not even a feeling. It's just like actual like judgment and attack.
I think people with high emotional intelligence don't care what other people think about them.
Even if it's somebody who controls, like it's usually a my superior.
Well, you don't want to be disrespected, but right. I mean, it's not like he's...
And I was disrespected. So I'm like, how would I emotionally intelligently have handled certain things if I was like blatantly...
Well, it depends on the situation. Like the argument, I understand, but like, I don't know. I don't have emotional intelligence.
The wrong word.
I could deal with people at work though, because
But they don't get like loud and disrespectful with you. For some reason, they feel like that's okay with me. And that's why I'm always on defense mode, because I'm like, what about this just gave you the impression that was okay? So then I have to automatically, I can't
just
back
check
down
them one time and then you're good.
Not necessarily. Because I was in constant battle with this person. If it's a coworker, I'm like, how are you?
But you can,
But if it's
I have
somebody
this
who
little
has
Bill book, Bill Cosby. And I read it to my students, I don't care. It has a good message, but it talks about the meanest thing to say. And it talks about this pretty much this father teaching his son emotional intelligence because he was trying to teach him not to give in when people were bothering him. Now I understand, like, you're not gonna let somebody walk all over you. Like, that's
right.
a different story. But also, you don't have to respond to everything. Like, that takes so much energy. Like, it takes more energy for you and your response to those situations than it does for his whatever he's projecting onto you.
Okay.
Because sometimes you can just be like, all right.
But I can't let you get loud with me and disrespectful. I can't do it. I don't know.
And perhaps he wants that reaction. Are you?
Maybe he got it. But
I don't know. I mean, sometimes it's about protecting your own peace.
The thing is, it's also a person that's able who will actively and who has actively thrown me under the bus to upper management who can So
then you go talk to upper management and tell them that this is what the story is.
Oh yeah, that's what happened. So I filed a complaint on him because I was like, I feel discriminated against. I'm the only Black person on my team, and I'm the only one being treated this way. Tell me otherwise. I'll wait. And
they were like, oh no.
Yeah, there's
inclusion.
Not the D word. So, I mean, they went and talked to him and he was much nicer after that, but I still knew how he felt. He still knew how I felt. We just didn't deal with each other, which is fine.
You can't take it out.
I mean, and that's fine, but as long as I'm not being disrespected, you don't have to like me. I don't care. I just don't want to be you're not going to just come up and talk to me any kind of way. And I don't care who you are. If you're my superior, if you're my colleague, if you are the president of the United States, I will need check you. Don't. Anyway, I'm working on myself, but
emotions all over the place.
Don't.
So other ways of improving your emotional intelligence, choosing logic over emotion, which is again, how we just talked about when we are dating and you're like, you date somebody and then it goes bad and you go back and then you're like, goes bad, then you go back. And it's like, oh, okay, I already know what's about to happen. That's the logic part of you, but
I think most of the time when that kind of scenario happens, it's not necessarily because it's like, I love this person. It's because you're not doing anything else. And it's so easy to go and occupy your time with something that's comfortable. Not that it makes any sense.
But not even just that, even if you're dating multiple people.
It's just a series of poor decisions, I think. Because sometimes there is occasionally, there is occasionally the time where it's like an emotional tie to this person where it's like, I really care about this person. It's really hard for me to let them go. But a lot of the time, in my case, it's, I'm home every single Saturday. I'd like company sometimes. And then company presents itself. So you go and you hang out with company and then you're like, why did I do that? Because why?
So that conversation that you have with yourself after needs to be in the front. That way you can avoid certain situations. You can avoid the emotion.
This is dumb. I'll be there at 8. And then you go in there
and you're like, all right, I'm going to have in my head that this is dumb.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to keep it right at the forefront.
And then you're like, I'm dumb.
Yeah. Some kind of way it goes from this is dumb to I'm dumb. And then it just gets unhealthy.
Ooh, child. So choose logic over the emotion, okay? And it's
trying.
We read that it's obviously harder for people that are feelers, that lead with their feeling functions. But it definitely can prevent, any misunderstandings or any feelings or emotions that you want to avoid. Now, obviously, if it's something that you want to feel, then, go for it. But if it's an emotion that you're trying to avoid, like nobody really likes to be angry all the time or nobody really likes to be sad. So, those emotions, those type of emotions, you can try to use logic instead to make that emotion minimized, if possible.
Don't take things personally. I am not the one to say this because I take everything personally. I'm like, that was an attack on me, wasn't it?
Yeah,
don't take things personally because sometimes people have issues that ain't got nothing to do with you.
Most times.
But on the flip side, that person needs to be emotionally intelligent enough to not be projecting on everybody that they come across. So everybody need to work on their own crap and figure out what the root of the actual issue is and address that and not project that frustration or that anger or that whatever discomfort or disrespect, whatever the case is, on other people. And then people won't take it personally. Yeah. It's hard for me to think, going back to my situation, it's hard for me to think, man, maybe he's just having a bad day. Well, God dang it, maybe I was too. So what makes you think that I should care what you're going through on your side when you're blatantly being mean to me? Of course,
but most times in those situations, I don't necessarily think like they're having a bad day. When I think about it having more to do with them, miserable. I think about, like there's something internally that they're struggling with that is causing them racism. To project. He's racist. I mean, that's his issue.
And misogynistic, I'm sure. Because the next in line was actually a freaking white person, but it was a girl. And I was like, okay, so did I have the double negative going against me, or?
You always have the double negative.
I always have double negative. Put a pin in that one.
Society takes over.
Yay.
I mean, until we take over society.
Yeah, until society takes over. They already took over. That's the problem. Yeah, they might not have nothing to do with you, what they're going through, but these hands are rated E for everybody. So.
And if you're the problem, stop projecting.
Yeah. I'm gonna.
That's why it's important to be aware of yourself and your own emotions, because at times you could be the problem and you don't even know it.
Knowing your triggers, because somebody could have said something to you that triggered you that still ain't have nothing to do with that person. They don't know what you've been through, and then you just pop off like what?
So basically, just know how you're feeling at all times.
Yeah, basically.
As soon as you wake up, how am I feeling right now?
Yeah.
That's actually part of the Calm app.
Tell yourself how you're feeling, actually. You wake up and it's like, I'm in a crappy mood. Like, no.
Yeah.
Wake up and be like,
intentional.
I'm in a crappy mood right in this moment, but after I brush my teeth and wash my face, guess what? I'm about to be in an even crappier mood.
I read like a meme or something. I don't know if it was a meme, it was something I read. And it was talking about how sometimes people that like try to avoid certain emotions. What did it say? It said something about people that like try to keep the peace all the time are avoiding their emotions. Which could be.
Mm-hmm.
So at the same time, when you're trying to like avoid being sad and avoid being angry, it's like you're not expressing yourself to the point that you
I think there's a difference between, and that's what I had to explain to Mama. I think there's a difference between optimism and realism, with a hint of optimism, because you wake up and you're just in a bad mood, like you freaking got stuck in traffic, whatever. You can say in that moment, right here in this moment, I'm really like angry. I'm just really annoyed and I'm really aggravated. But you can also say, all right, I'm going to give myself till lunchtime to change this mood around. Like what's going right in my day or whatever. And I'm, again, not the right person to say this, because the littlest thing can just ruin my entire day. And I'm just like,
because we focus so much on the negatives. Like, you miss all the positives that happen that day for that one negative thing.
So like you can acknowledge what you're feeling in that moment, but letting it consume more time than it needs to is a choice.
Right.
Instead of being reactive, be proactive. That's proactive right there. Observe how you react to people. Because again, you could be projecting. Or maybe you're just a douche. But don't be. So just take mental notes. Like I didn't have to say that.
Yeah.
I didn't even have to say that. I mean, we've all been there. It's like, you know what, that was rude, and I'm sorry. I didn't have to say that.
Apologize.
Emotionally intelligent people apologize.
Mm-hmm.
Take responsibility for your actions, so apologize. And examine how your actions affect others.
So how do you think you handle your stressful situations? I think we
Terribly.
talked about this on the last episode, but
yeah, it depends on the stressful situation. First of all, I'm gonna cry, and everything else is secondary. Who I let see me cry is also variable because I don't just burst out into tears. Girl, go answer that door, girl.
don't.
Go answer.
Oh, I'm like, they can see us through the window.
Right?
It can't be. Did my pants get on there?
Let's see who this is. Because we invite me.
Hi. We're recording a podcast, so.
Oh, hey!
Aren't you vaccinated?
Yeah.
We vaccinated. We all out the window.
Listen, we straight.
You bought us some green?
You brought us some collard greens?
Thank God, that's right.
You grow
Oh,
green?
y'all growing collard greens? Yes.
Daddy, your brother here.
Won't you look at that? That is our uncle
Thank you.
with some fresh collard greens, fresh out his backyard. I think that's beautiful. This episode, by the way, is freaking hilarious. I'm gonna go ahead and close on out. We record one of our little podcasts, child. I'm gonna go ahead and close it out though. We wrapping up. Could you see us through the window?
No.
Oh, really? I was about to say, I'm pretty sure you can see us through the window. Yeah, so we're talking about emotional intelligence today.
Emotional.
Yes. Do you feel like you're emotionally intelligent? As a James, do you feel like you're emotionally intelligent?
Emotional intelligence.
Yeah, just kind of being in touch with your emotions. Or like, not in touch with them, but like being able to control them.
We got an abort mission because they about to
cut up.
Hey, man.
What you looking at?
Well, we done.
We're gonna go ahead and wrap that up. So,
Are we done? Did we give the tip? I'm sorry.
we didn't give the tip, but that was really funny.
Did y'all see my pants?
They probably saw your pants. It's fine. I'm just glad you have some on. It's fine. This is every Zoom call that has happened in the last year and a half. So I handle my stressful situations terribly. I cry. Depending on how angry I am, I turn to the Hulk. Whatever, you know? How do you?
I cry and I meditate and I practice self-care.
I practice self-care sometimes. When I get time, I write, and that's therapeutic, but I don't get time, so.
I know, that's the thing. Like, I would like to be on the beach more. Like, just.
I think we should do that. I think we should go on the beach more. I think we're going to the beach next week.
I mean, I'm ready. Vaccinated, ready to go.
Vaccinated and ready to Just kidding.
No.
All right, give us the tip. What's the tip name?
Just a tip is we're all just going to hold hands and jump into a therapy session.
I think that's a great idea.
We need to figure out ways to raise our emotional intelligence.
I have to find another therapist.
You do. You haven't even been looking.
No. I've kind of been like, I'm just scarred from that whole experience.
I hope y'all don't hate it.
No, I'm sure they do. It's fine.
This is just
Get out, child.
hands ashy. Yeah. So we're gonna hold hands and all go to therapy. Number one. Number two. Sometimes you're the problem. So identify your own emotions and your own triggers. Okay. Because if everybody can't be having a problem and nobody is the problem.
I was like, do you feel like you're emotionally intelligent? I was like, emotional intelligence. I'm Like, you watch this podcast.
I think he is.
Yeah.
He is. Daddy's not.
Yeah, that's what I asked as a James. How do you
He
feel?
is. He's probably the most.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody else has.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's why we like this. But
That's
anyway.
her. I'm like, I got from my mom's side, and we're very, very, very emotional people.
Yeah. So basically, the podcast from hell.
It's ruined. Yeah.
Basically,
There's a quote that says, I'll work on me for you if you work on you for me. And just, I mean, obviously you want to work on yourself for yourself, first and foremost, but before you go into partnerships and stuff like that and relationships, I think it's a good thing to have in your head to just kind of start figuring out how to interact with people and being in touch with your emotions, because they're going to bring out a side of you that you probably didn't know existed. And you're going to have to be able to handle that in a healthy way.
Right. And I remember when a friend of mine got married, she was saying how like health is like the most important thing, one of the most important things that you can give to your partner, your health, like
yes,
being a healthy person. And
that's mentally and physically.
Right, because I believe that it was mostly physical health that she was talking about.
Yeah.
But, you know, in recent years, they've been married for I don't know how many years now, but in recent years, you know, as mental health starts becoming more and more, you know, in the limelight, and it's National Mental Health Awareness Month. But yes, you see my lime green. But yeah, so, you know, just I think mental health should definitely be included in that, because people crazy and people, you know, outside of your house are crazy, which causes craziness in your house. It's like you have to be able to identify and take care of yourself and understand what your triggers are, and you know, especially if you're in a relationship,
because now you're including somebody else in your
right.
in your junk. Don't be bringing baggage. Don't bring me extra baggage. I got my own issues. So
yeah, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up because there's a lot going on in the living room. Like before, it was in the room or on the way back and forth. Now it's just right now. So
people coughing up lungs and stuff in the bag. Got the washer going. Got some collard greens though.
We apologize, but
we got some collard greens though.
We did get collard greens.
Some fresh
from the
like
backyard.
Organic collard greens. I'm gonna have to hit them up for collard greens now.
Yeah.
That's our plug. What else are they growing? Anyways, to be continued.
Thanks for listening, guys.
See you guys later.